So we're gonna go over finger bandaging today. So before we go over the actual technique, we're gonna go over what you need and what you need to do to prep beforehand. So you're gonna need some finger bandages, some rolls of Mololast. Some people are gonna need 2, some people might need 3, depending on the size of their hand and their fingers. You're gonna need some tape, which we would recommend, cutting your tape or ripping your tape before we get started, just so you're not in a pickle for some tape when you need it. So, cutting all of your tape before we get started, as much as you need to do all of your bandaging. And then you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna wash your arm and apply your low pH lotion to the whole arm. And then once that's all finished, then you're gonna go ahead and cut your stockinette, which looks like that. And remember, you're going to measure it from your knuckles all the way up to the top of the arm. And then you're gonna double that length before you go ahead and cut, okay? So you'll have that all ready to go. So before we finger bandage, you're gonna go ahead and put your stockinette on. And you wanna make sure no wrinkles in the stockinette. Perfect, so no wrinkles, nice and flat, okay? And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take and you're gonna cut a little hole right at the knuckle of your thumb. So kind of the base of that thumb right there. You're gonna kind of, pull it up a little bit, and you're gonna make a tiny little cut, just so later when we're finished the finger bandaging, your thumb has somewhere to go for the next step. So you can go ahead and cut that, and then you're gonna go ahead and just bring all of this back so that your hand and your wrist are free for the finger bandaging part, okay? So when we go ahead and finger bandage, I want you to think about your roll of bandage as like a snail shell, and like a snail. So your snail is gonna be on the bottom and your shell is gonna be on the top. If we have it opposite, it's gonna cause a lack of control of the bandage, and also it's gonna cause more wrinkles. So we always want the snail shell on the top and the snail on the bottom, okay? So Julia's gonna be bandaging her fingers, and I'm just gonna be kind of leading us through step by step, okay? So once we have our snail shell on the top, we're gonna start by rolling towards the thumb, and we're gonna just make an anchor at the wrist. So this can be a tricky part sometimes, but just kind of using that bandage to your advantage, and kind of, maybe letting it sit on the bottom of your wrist to get it nice and anchored. Perfect. So you're noticing there's no wrinkles or anything like that. So the technique that you're gonna use here is you're only gonna be pulling that bandage about 25%, okay? The bandage has capability to go 100%, and then about 50%, and then 25% is about our sweet spot, okay? So you're gonna go around, starting at the thumb, and you're gonna go right under the base of that nail. And you're gonna go around 2 times at 100% coverage, meaning wherever this one lands, you're gonna go directly over that one again. And then after you do that, you're gonna go about 75% coverage, so covering about 3/4 of that last one, and you're gonna roll back towards the wrist and make a little circle around the wrist. Perfect. And while you're doing this, you really wanna try to keep your hand nice and flat, try to avoid excessive bending of the elbow, just so we're not getting into any habits that might get us into trouble later in the bandaging process. So once we've done the thumb, we're gonna come down to the next finger, and we're gonna go around 2 times at the base of the nail. Make sure we're pulling at about 25% tension. Perfect. And your pointer finger, middle finger, and ring finger are longer fingers, so the technique is going to be just a little bit different. So instead of going 2 times and then 1 time back around the wrist, you're going to go 2 times and then you're going to go 75% covering, perfect, around again, and then you're going to go 1 more time back towards the wrist. Beautiful. Making sure you're keeping that bandage nice and close and you're trying to avoid any wrinkles.
Yeah, so go here and kind of pull a little bit. Me too.
Perfect. So the technique's going to be the exact same for the next finger. So you're just going to go up to the next finger, right at the base of the nail, go 2 times around, and after that you're going to cover about 75%, go around, 75% around again, and then you're going to cross out and go back to the wrist. So another little thing that's important too is we want to keep these little web spaces open and free from that bandage, just so it doesn't get irritating up in there, and making sure we're trying to remain as wrinkle free as possible. Okay, so we're just going to finish those last 2 fingers, same technique. And you know, the more you practice with this, the better you'll get with making sure, you know, we're avoiding wrinkles, we're keeping that bandage nice and close.
And even therapists, like, playing around with this, self-bandaging takes you a little moment each time. So with trying to avoid the wrinkles here, I'm trying not to go up at this angle so I don't get a big wrinkle. So I'm gonna try to come a little bit lower on my wrist or higher and see if I can kind of get a better pull.
Right. The bandaging material will kind of tell you where it wants to go rather than the other way around. Wherever we have the least wrinkles is kind of most likely where the bandage needs to go. So that same technique, covering 2 times and then 75%.
Probably on this finger I might need to cross out.
Yeah.
Because I have short fingers.
Yep, and everyone's different. So once you feel like you've covered the finger adequately, you don't have to do the next step if that's if you're out of bandage. So here we didn't get a chance to get the pinky, and we're kind of running low on bandage. So what we never want to do is we never want to start bandaging a finger and run out of bandaging material on that finger. And the reason why is because that's only going to lead to that bandage unraveling on the finger. So if we're not anticipating that we're going to be able to bandage the whole finger and go back to the wrist, you're just going to go around the wrist with no tension just to finish that bandage, and then we can start a new one. Perfect. And that bandage will kind of just lay on itself. If you want to put a piece of tape, you're certainly welcome to, just to keep it nice and secure. Perfect. So our second bandage here, remember, snail shell is still on top. And for this first bandage, we rolled towards the thumb. For the second bandage, we're gonna roll the opposite direction. We're gonna roll towards the pinky, okay? So we're gonna start it at the wrist. Same thing, we're gonna anchor at that wrist. And then we're gonna come straight towards the pinky on the pinky side. Yep. And we're gonna do the same technique kind of that we did at the thumb. So right under the base of the nail, we're gonna go 2 times.
And I have small fingers, so you may need more rolls.
Right, that's okay. So 2 times at 100%, and then we're gonna cross out and go back to the wrist. Great. So now we've initially bandaged all of the fingers, but what we have to do now is kind of some cleanup. So Julia's gonna make a fist, and you can kind of start to see there's these little areas where you can see skin still coming through. So we really want to make sure we're getting an opaque, nice and white, no skin coming through finish on this bandage to make sure we're getting proper compression everywhere and it's nice and distributed properly, okay? So anywhere that we kind of see that transparency through, where we see that skin, we're just gonna come and kind of go wherever we kind of need the coverage. So the technique's gonna be, we're gonna come up to the finger, same thing right under the base of the nail, and then we're just gonna cross in, and then we're gonna cross right back out to the wrist. So it's not gonna be a whole process sequence down the finger this time. It's just a cross in, around, and out. So, you know, I'm kind of noticing some transparency here. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna come up to that finger at the base of the nail, cross in, and then cross back out to the wrist. And it's just like a little ribbon. Yes, and of course trying to avoid as many wrinkles as we can. Perfect. So we're doing pretty good. Julia, do you see anywhere else that you want to kind of get?
Let's see. I can make a fist again and see anywhere that's kind of light. Like I might go right here again because I can see my skin a little bit. But on the thumb, I for sure want to go again because we can see a lot right in there.
Yeah.
And you can totally like do one finger, take a pause, make a fist again, and see if you need any more coverage. It's always good to check. And then I feel like I'm good on this finger, so I won't go back, but I'll go back to my thumb. For this one, you can kind of turn your hand if you need to. Come around. Lay flat.
Wonderful. So now that we've completely covered everything, everything's looking good, we do have some extra bandaging material here. So what we're gonna do, Julia's just gonna finish that bandage around her wrist with no tension. So she's not pulling every time she comes around. And also she's gonna try to stagger the position of those bandages so that one area of the wrist isn't getting all of that pressure per se of the bandages. So kind of spacing them out if you can. Perfect. And then just put your little piece of tape there. And the telltale sign that everything is good, you can, turn your hand here. I can put a finger through here comfortably, so it shouldn't be too tight. And then your palm should be nice and free. And your fingertips should also be nice and free for you to use your cell phone or whatever you need to do, okay? And that's finger bandaging.